It's strange when you realize that you're getting old. For me, that realization happened about 3 years ago at the age of 25. I watch my hairline creep away. I suffer consequences if I eat mac and cheese every day. Today always seems like it has more responsibilities than yesterday did, both to myself and to others. I've realized my own separation from youth recently when I catch myself using the phrase kids these days and being serious. But typically the phrase kids these days is followed by something annoying but innocuous, like, how do kids these days actually enjoy playing Minecraft? Why do kids these days treat BuzzFeed like a reputable news source? Why are kids these days always spending so much time at Subway? Typically you don't say, oh, kids these days always trying to undermine the very basis for our free society. But according to new poll data, kids these days are increasingly in favor of exactly that. The Pew Research Center recently asked respondents, should the government be able to ban people from saying statements that are offensive to minority groups? And 40% of millennials, that's 4 out of 10 of my dumbass friends, 4 out of 10 of my inclusive, safe space inhabiting, gender neutral friends say yes. Now let's be clear about the question and our terms here. This isn't people saying speech offensive to minority groups should be frowned upon. This isn't people saying speech offensive to minority groups should be discouraged. This is people saying speech offensive to minority groups should have a legal ban, presumably with legal consequences for violation. Let's think about that for a second. Yeah, I had a really tough childhood. I grew up with a single mom. I never really knew my dad. He called someone a fat when I was 2, and he's been in jail ever since. If you go to the Wikipedia page for George Orwell's 1984, the article describes the novel as dystopian. We might need to revise that. Kids these days are now saying, thought police? Sounds like an awesome safe space. Sign me up. I've got 2 main points of criticism for 4 out of 10 of my peers here. First, how the hell would a government ban on speech offensive to minority groups even work? And second, and probably more importantly, even if it could work, why would we want it? Point 1. How is the goal of banning speech offensive to minorities even achievable? Presumably we'd need a list of banned words or banned statements. And would we need to ban them in every context? Would we have FBI raids on comedy clubs, for example? Or would we need some type of offensiveness judge or offensiveness jury to sort out what words or statements are okay in what context? Not as a matter of personal taste, but as a legal matter. And if we're only banning speech that's offensive to minorities, who gets to decide what's offensive to minorities? Do we set what's offensive by law through Congress that is 80% white male? Or do we just circumvent the democratic processes of our republic and give some kind of minority council absolute power over what's okay to say and what's not? It's more complicated than Charlie Sheen's medical chart. But even if it wasn't complicated, point 2, why would we want to do this? To 40% of my peers, the question is simple. Do we believe in the free exchange of ideas or do we not? Do you support the First Amendment to the Constitution of the United States or do you not? And if you claim to support that amendment, what type of speech do you suppose that amendment is designed to protect? We don't need the First Amendment to talk about rainbows and unicorns. We need the First Amendment to talk about faggots getting mercilessly on a bed of thorns soaked in consumed by the perpetrators with motherfucking smiles of motherfucking joy, bitch. Now, of course, it's up to you to determine what speech and what art are to your taste. But understand the danger and intellectual laziness of wanting speech and art that's not to your taste to be legally banned. Quote Supreme Court Justice Louis Brandeis, "If there be time to expose through discussion the falsehood and fallacies, to avert the evil by the processes of education, the remedy to be applied is more speech, not enforced silence." In other words, absent emergency, banning bad ideas is not how we move past them. Better ideas are how we move past bad ideas. Discussion, debate, education. These are the paths to a better, freer, smarter, more just society. Do we want racism gone, for example, because we are all enlightened on the issue, or do we want racism gone because the thought police forbid it? That's an easy choice for me. Ultimately, what are we talking about here? Are we talking about real actions of real harm, or are we talking about words? I guess now the saying goes, sticks and stones may break my bones, phones, but words are an existential threat to the human race. Ted Bundy was charged with rape and murder, not saying he likes rough sex. Timothy McVeigh was charged with terrorism and use of weapons of mass destruction, not saying he hates the government. Bernie Madoff was charged with fraud, not saying he likes screwing people over. Notice the distinction, friends. We punish the action, not the words. Words have never raped anybody. Words have never blown up a building. Words have never erased a bank account. I beg of my peers to recognize this distinction and understand that words only have the power that you give them. Words are not a threat. Words are the most useful tool that we have, and the free exchange of them is what separates us from all other species. The cavemen didn't ban fire if one of them got burned. Don't ban words if you can't handle their heat. Please and thank you. Thanks as always for listening and for supporting this channel. Always appreciate the thoughtful discussion down below, and especially over on Twitter. That is @skag_3. Remember, I've also got a new live stream going that's linked down in the description, so come hang out with me there. Looking forward to it. Okay, bye.